Thanks everybody for joining us here to go over our development opportunity. Um, I'll start sharing my screen. All right, I think everyone should be able to see this. Fantastic. So we are going over our Teradon Road development opportunity in Ulster County, and I'm basically gonna show you how to navigate to this as we would coming in from just the sort of HUTS homepage. You go to developments under see all here. You can sort of scroll through all of the development opportunities that we've sort of put together, and we'll continue putting together. But basically, this is sort of our way of really starting by kind of thinking of, as we as we've developed our standards and kind of developed this process of bringing people through, we really kind of started to as we see properties, we really like to kind of think through what they could be. And in doing so, we come across these beautiful pieces of land that we really kind of think would be great sort of for certain people and certain uses. And so this is our way of putting the whole picture together. So I'm scrolling down to Teradon Road here, but you can also use these keys up here to jump to the categories. And in the above 1.2 we have Teradon Road. So see details. And this is this really kind of beautiful piece of land we saw in Ulster County. So if you look at sort of, here is the kind of world HUTS map. We have projects all over the country and sort of beyond the sort of greater New York area, but still to this day, the HUTSiverse is really centered in sort of the greater, Catskills area. So here are kind of all the projects around here that we're working on now. And Teradon Road is here. It's right sort of between Kearhunxon and Accord, sort of bordering Minnewaska State Park. And it's really sort of, within our range of 2, 3 hours outside of New York City. So it's a 9-acre lot. We put together these images of really just like how do we think our standards are landing on this lot to try and really pull you in and kind of place a house in this space and start to think kind of how would we do it. And when addressing a piece of raw land at HUTS, we really sort of like to be pretty minimalist in our approach to what do you really need to do such that you kind of are taking what's already there and making it better versus kind of coming in and clear cutting an entire lot or really sort of I think when you start a project, people kind of can easily get into the space of over kind of clearing and over landscaping, and we would like putting things together in that way. So with all of our development opportunities, we start by trying to identify who we think it would be for. And this lot in particular is really a beautiful 9-acre lot with a lot of different features that we think would be great for a couple sort of think about making a multi-generational compound. So something that they will plan on kind of having the whole family come together for sort of holidays, for parts of the summer. A place that can really get everyone into it, but also when it's not being used can be sort of switched out to rental pretty easily, so that sort of it's something that can generate income on the side, but really kind of like striking that balance between when they're using it can really sort of suck in the whole family and kind of give everybody their own space within this as the family grows, extends, as grandchildren come into the picture. I think there's really kind of like a exciting sort of dual use now where sort of like the same things the family want, which is like everyone together, but enough separation for XYZ. It's sort of also what people want when they're renting a spot. So I think kind of the idea of a multi-generational place kind of becomes a pretty good rental place at the same time. So here's where it's located, dead center of Ulster County. Here's this lot, and you can see it's a pretty kind of interesting lot in many ways. There's really kind of like sort of not much underbrush and a wide variety of kind of deciduous and evergreen trees. Sort of very easy to imagine kind of carving paths through this. It's a pretty big lot too, with sort of 9 acres. You can really kind of start to think about kind of forming a walking path in a loop and sort of think about landscape events and how our houses and standards can really sort of become these events, become these sort of moments of excitement that are sort of, instead of really kind of detracting from the natural beauty, really become sort of follies or these kind of, exciting moments on your property. So there's also this really beautiful pond. I think there's actually two ponds on this property. And our vision for this is really trying to kind of maximize sort of as of right use. So kind of build everything we can under kind of the existing zoning conditions without sort of applying for variances. I mean, we haven't dug deep into this specific property, but usually you can get a number of a house and a guest house is pretty sort of standard allowed by zoning code. And so we're imagining this would be a village, a HUTS village, a HUTS small bar as the guest house, and an ADU cottage, sort of as a third bedroom space, kind of hidden away. To acquire this piece of property, we put all the information here. Zachary Jarvis is the realtor, and you can call him and contact him directly. Or, we also sort of have this property and many other beautiful properties that we're always working through on our land service. I think actually at the moment it's undergoing some maintenance, but it's a great resource for people who are looking into these beautiful pieces of land and really sort of thinking about doing what HUTS does, which is becoming a land developer and sort of starting your compound in the woods. But here we have this view of an aerial view of the property, so you can see this is Teradon Road ending here. You're really sort of at the end of this road where we can start to see a couple water features, stream running through. Here's sort of the tree area, and there's an electrical line running through the very north of the property. But it's an interesting lot with sort of these kind of pockets of trees and pockets of clearings that we would then begin to activate and program with different moments. So here again, in all our development opportunities, we basically take initial site map drawing. So here's the stuff that exists, originally, and it's, a different key to kind of look at. I mean, you can dig into this as you like, but sort of this becomes a thing that we develop as we go through. And, we kind of have a running pro forma tied to the different phases of the project that are outlining costs and, eventually potential revenues that would happen in the phases as you develop the property. So, as in all properties, the first thing to do would be planning the site and improving the land. And in kind of preparing the lot for development, HUTS, we're really trying to kind of think of development and sort of what anyone does and kind of wanting a cabin in the woods or a home or whatever it is. It's a phased project. You're a land developer, and what happens in that is you really need to sort of do upfront planning to really sort of think through the entire property, but then you sort of take it out in bite-sized chunks. So in the initial, it's really sort of this first stage of, okay, what are the exciting features that exist in a raw lot that I want to work with and emphasize and sort of tune to kind of really make something that is unique. It's a push and pull process of the events I want, but also what is there and how do I kind of become the steward of the land, the sculptor of this kind of beautiful natural site. So this property is also partially exciting because I think the sort of two initial sort of running calculation numbers we always have in our heads are like, okay, you're going to need a driveway, you're going to need to clear. I mean, these numbers are, driveways, $7,500 per 100 linear feet, give or take. Clearing is can be variable depending on the challenge of getting there in XYZ, but it's great when anything already has a driveway because that, just takes this sort of initial upfront cost, and you can start to sort of play around with that existing driveway to work through and start to kind of think of this sort of circulation spine running through your project. And I mean, as I was saying, really sort of a big fan of front loading master planning and landscape design concepts to really create a skeleton framework that you get to fill out, because I you don't really just want to think of a property as kind of like a 1 year thing. You want to think of it sort of as you live in it, as you develop in it. Sort of, even if everything can't be done immediately, it can be done over time. So
Hey,
here's our
Ollie, are you able to hear
our
me at all?
initial kind of pro forma again for this phase of land improvement. And kind of as everything is happening in this, the sort of exciting thing at these initial phases is you really start to do the critical work that moves a raw lot to a developed lot. So you're basically forcing equity into the project. And in our experience, the sort of the work you do to sort of make, the closer you get to the house, the sort of more equity you're putting in. And this first kind of vision work and getting in the septic, getting in the driveway, et cetera, really kind of are actually on the value curve incredibly important moments. So you purchase the land, you've done sort of the initial driveway, well, septic, power, and we're estimating here you basically have a stored equity of maybe $80,000 in the project, which actually becomes really important for financing. The sort of appraisal and estimate of the land isn't necessarily what you bought it for. It's sort of, what they think it would sell at a fair market. So the more equity you can sort of produce in the land, the better that'll work for financing, etc. Okay, so and here we are. So this is kind of the first series of the site map here, which we started to lay out. And so basically thinking about the areas where houses could go, playing with the ideas of how do people move through the site. So there's sort of the car and driveway where the parking lots, and then where sort of a, in this piece of land, we're also really thinking about a walking path. So sort of something that allows you to circulate and walk around and experience your entire property in these moments along your property. And in the second phase, we're sort of thinking of like, okay, you sort of purchase this land, you've kind of really thought it out, and we're just going to start by putting an ADU into this land as a place to stay. So you can kind of visit your property. You can also come and begin to rent it out as well. So people, you can sort of start to, the thing people don't necessarily think about fully when Airbnb something out or something is it's a business, right? And you kind of need to market it. You need to develop an idea of what sort of a short-term rental thing would be. What are sort of the experiences that you kind of basically differentiate you from other pieces of property on the market. So that's this first step. So this is the ADU that we would imagine, first building, which is the Cottage ADU. So it's this really efficient building that could potentially have it's sort of two potential sleeping areas. So one here in this loft, a wet room, and a kind of kitchen, living space, and all in this really sort of tight, efficient form. Which I think it's something that gets you to your property really quickly. It sort of is this really bite-sized building effort that allows you to a kind of confirm that you want to do the rest. Everything is sited where you want it to be, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's also kind of a good experience to start working with contractors, and it just really helps sort of do the whole thing. So here is kind of how we would imagine doing it. We'd sort of place an ADU with a deck out here in the northeast corner of the site. Here would be the parking area. So building the driveway sort of, all the way back into the site to sort of, help with future buildings. But using this as a moment to start walking the property, building a path, thinking about potentially having some sort of sauna, swimming hole, and a pond over here, or kind of, sort of what experiences you want on the property. So the second phase is the guest house that you would build, which would be a HUTS small bar. Again, you can check all of these out. Anything that's blue here, you can click on. You can look at our standards. That'll basically immediately direct you to our standards. And so here's our small bar, standard and efficient 1 bedroom. It can be modified to 2 bedroom, but kind of simple, sort of great room, bedroom, bathroom, deck layout. And the way we're kind of imagining this is collecting these two relatively close to each other, also so they can, utilize the same septic well systems. I mean, I think it's sort of tying things together and sizing them such that things can tie in, using it as an opportunity to expand on, and here having a little fire pit in the corner here, but also kind of using this as an opportunity to, with siting, we're always trying to think about solar exposure gain too. So sort of the sun path kind of follows this coming across here, changing slightly in the winter versus summer. So you would really give it space in the trees to sort of be in the woods, but also have this beautiful light, natural light coming all the way through the air. So here again is a small bar. So at this point in the property, you will have two structures. So I think we like sort of thinking of these opportunities as like being able to sort of distribute the house through kind of the property a little bit. So instead of kind of having sort of a 2 or 3 bedroom house, you kind of two structures, which will eventually become the guest house, is serving as the main gathering space. There's a big deck. There's a big, kind of communal area, a fully sort of workable kitchen, a big kitchen. People could be staying in the cottage ADU, but would be kind of using this as the main living space. Here is sort of the running tally of the pro forma as it moves along. So sort of we built the ADU and everything around there, and then we built this first guest house. So this is the part that starts to develop as buildings are finished, right? You get to begin renting them out, and this tied in with kind of the stored equity value that you get by building and sort of de-risking the property through each step of the way, become critical pieces for potentially financing as you work through this. But sort of we're looking at potentially the cottage being the thing that's rented out more often, that sort of being rented out at $250 a night for 20 nights a month, kind of as a blended rate over the year, something like that. Mini bar at 325, kind of getting to, I mean, you start getting to, potentially, if you're really using this, if you're really renting this out a fair bit, it becomes a significant stream of income pretty quickly that really helps with your sort of month to month, or potentially pays for your month to month financing costs. So the final phase 4 of this project would be building the main house. So this is our village standard, which you can see here, and I pulled up here as well. It's these kind of 3 gabled structures with this centered at this kind of glassy connector here. And this works really well because it's kind of creating separation between each of these spaces and each of these bedrooms, whatnot. So you can kind of open things up or close things off as people are using them, but also really imagining the kind of idealized form of this family gathering location and what that could be like. Going back here, so you really kind of at this point have a full functioning compound. There's village becomes the heart of the space. This is where kind of big family meals would be. But I think the nice thing about this kind of distributed house or home idea on a property is that you really kind of can open up and close down as needed. I mean, you can do it within the house in the village, but also sort of within the different pieces of property, and it also is kind of a perfect solution for rental, as people can kind of, as you start to really build out that piece of the business kind of brand, that you get to sort of use kind of the moments on your property that you're sort of programming within this walking loop as ways of really differentiating yourself within the rental market. And they can all be used collectively sort of for each of these as rental spaces, so people have options for that as well, depending on how they want to use it. And again, you're in a beautiful part of Ulster County, right next to state parks, not too far away from like a ski mountain, or sort of all these different beautiful things here. So here is our final pro forma that's outlining cost as you go along, sort of potential revenues from renting this place out, and what this whole thing would look like. And so, the completed property is I mean, again, here's the final main house of this property. Really, I think these are quick, sort of put together kind of ideas of what a house would look like. But I think it's getting to our overarching philosophy, which is like, what happens when you have something that's really lightly touching the ground. It's really sort of taking these beautiful kind of natural elements, and not trying to, I think instead of like, okay, we're gonna sort of start from scratch landscaping wise, let's really work with what's there, and kind of be the sculptor, be kind of the surgeon, and how we work with the land. And I think kind of a phased approach in the case like this really allows us to take it piece by piece. It's something that you really do develop a family sort of retreat, but it's kind of a slow way into it. So I think it's an interesting property, and I think it's really excellent. So if anyone does have any questions, feel free. Would love to answer. Oh, so actually, let me start resharing one more time. Just to so the best way to contact us about any of these development opportunities is to fill out this field here. We are really excited about each of these development opportunities that we're working with, and really want to hear from you, and want to get these going. I mean, I think they're pieces of property that are moving, and we're getting interest, and so if it's something you want, please reach out, and let's do this. And I imagine that this is a group of people that there might be some people that are interested in this one, but if there's also, feel free to go through the rest of the development opportunity pages. If you want to do something like this or something else, please reach out as well. So again, let me take questions. How frequently do you create new development opportunities? So we're working pretty much every week is the pace we're trying to hit. We're doing one a week. And I think we're kind of working through so come back every week to check them out, and we're sort of getting into our groove. So we'll maybe we'll increase that frequency, but that's what we're doing for the moment. How long, anonymous attendee, how long does it take to build the ADU? you know Basically, with all of these things, it's really kind of dependent on contractor availability, and everything, but we can move pretty quickly on these things. I think it's one of these things that sort of, I guess, it's also a construction technique issue. We're working on basically figuring out how to get these prefab too, which would be even quicker. But I think it's probably on the order of 6 months to a year, depending on the contract availability and whatnot. Any info on the land on either side of the property? Well, I basically we're almost adjacent. I think we're not directly bordering Minnewaska State Park, but we're really close. So I think I haven't gone into depth specifically on the parcels, but it's one of those things that if you're interested in working with us, we certainly are more than happy to dive in and really really sort of flush that out as well. I see that you present construction costs as fixed costs. Can you please explain? So the way we are thinking about construction costs really are in two buckets. So, I mean, they're obviously, with anything in our pro forma, it's an estimation. But I think the way we like to think about it is there's sort of the real fixed costs end up being kind of the condition shell cost. So we think of it in two buckets: condition shell costs and fixtures and finishes costs. Condition shells are pretty much sort of commoditized costs, right? It's sort of everything you need to get inside. It's sort of what gets you inside a room in the house. Whereas fixtures and finishes are the things that you have a little bit more control to dial up or down, right? So it's sort of your tile, your cabinet, millwork, your, hardware, appliances, plumbing, et cetera, et cetera. So it's I think, obviously construction costs and anything that is a commodity is has variability within it. But this is sort of from our experience working a lot, and specifically working a lot within this area. This is sort of the ballpark in which we're playing in. And what is the zoning on the property, Sarah? Most likely it's rural residential. Again, this is sort of the type of thing that as you kind of work developing the property, you dive in and figure it out and with the town, et cetera, et cetera. Are you providing financing solutions? We are. Hold on, coming soon to a theater near you. No, we work a lot with sort of local banks and financing institutions, but we're sort of working on kind of delivering working with places that sort of have direct knowledge of the houses and ADUs we deliver, and we're working on kind of flushing that out. So we will is the short answer. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. And hope you all have a wonderful day. And thank you so much. We'll be doing these, I think, weekly. Do we provide insights into short-term revenue projections in general? We do. I mean, we're sort of, we think about it a lot. We're kind of looking at the markets and the areas that we're working with. And it's another thing that we're really looking to work even more in. I think it's kind of core to our philosophy of housing and what a new housing should be. So definitely. And we also, work to kind of flush out different pro formas and kind of, work with you guys to basically produce customize the work we do to what you need. Are you working in the Berkshires? Golden. Yes, we are. We have a project, October Lookout, in the Berkshires, and we're looking to work more there. It's a beautiful part of the world that is really kind of has a lot of similarities to where we're working already. And it's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. What is the average price per acre in the area? Do you have any ballpark numbers? So in the place we're working, it's sort of, it really depends on property and the improvements already there, features, views, etc. I think the number we like to think about a little bit is, 12 or is $10,000. $10,000 an acre is sort of a pretty good price. I think the way it works is like the smaller the lot, the more expensive per acre, the larger lot, the less expensive per acre generally, because it's sort of smaller lots, more bite size. You can sort of, I think that's the basic one, but I think $10,000 an acre is something we like to keep in mind as a starting place. All right, these are great questions, guys. All right, well, I think that's was a real pleasure. All right, I hope you guys get in touch, and we will be here next week and moving on. So, all right, thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.